As they say, it's better to be late than never, and Wizard of the Coast revealed the first Warhammer 40k cards for the Warhammer 40k Universes Beyond Commander decks whilst I was on holiday last week. And then I got back and I've had COVID and I'm just about getting over it and I've not had a chance to fucking talk about these things. So let's quickly talk about these things. This video, like all videos on the channel, are brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com. Looking to pick up magic product? Hit that link in the description below and get 5% off your first order. The Warhammer 40k decks are coming in the last quarter of this year. There's going to be 4 of them. There's going to be the Necrons, the Tyranids, the Forces of Chaos, and the Imperium. I personally wanted to see more than 4 because there's so much to explore. Hell, Eldar haven't got anything. Eldar being one of the Space Elves. They're being one of the first big factions in Warhammer, one of the first big Xenos factions. Them and the Orcs are the big bad aliens, right? Nothing. The Orcs are getting something though, with a secret lair coming later this year as well. We've got a Blood Bowl, Age of Sigmar, and Orcs. If the Orc secret lair doesn't have Ghazghkull Thraka, I will shit myself with rage. It'll be a gross disservice to our favourite big Orc war boss, Ghazghkull motherfucking Thraka. Each of the decks will be coming with a premium foiled out version as well, and I'm such a fucking sucker, I'm probably getting all these secret lairs and all the foil versions of these decks too, and hopefully I'll be filming some gameplay with the precons as well. I'm just beyond excited for this. Of course, there are Magic players out there that don't want Warhammer 40k in their game, much like we had with Walking Dead, Stranger Things, and other secret lairs before. Hell, I reacted pretty fucking badly to Fortnite. But honestly, it's a lovely feeling to see some of your favourite things come into Magic. Magic's one of my favourite games of all time. I fucking love Warhammer. I loved it since I was a kid, even if I was out of the hobby for a very long time. To see the two worlds collide, it fills me with like an unironic, completely legitimate, completely sincere sense of wonderment and happiness and excitement. I can't convey that in any other way other than just telling you how fucking sincere it is that I love seeing this shit. With that out of the way, let's look at the cards, shall we? 4 cards revealed, 2 for Chaos and 2 for the Imperium. Let's start with the Imperium. We have our first Space Marines. We have the Vanguard Suppressors. A 4-mana 3/2 Astartes Warrior with the Squad mechanic. It's a new mechanic, comes to that in a moment. Flying, and it has a keyworded or flavor-worded suppressing fire ability, which is whenever it deals damage to a player, draw a card. Squad is basically the most on-the-nose version of multi-kicker we've ever seen. For every 2 mana you would pump into this upon casting it, you get an extra copy of it to create a squad of these Marines. Suppressors come usually in squads of 3 in the game. They're flying, jetpack, anti-tank, heavy weapon carrying units. This is my least favourite of the 4. It's a 3/2, so this means that Space Marines are probably going to end up being just 2/2s when they haven't got an autocannon strapped to the front of them, which doesn't feel, honestly, as powerful as Space Marines probably should be on the tabletop. It's 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer, fine. Suppressing fire is fucking weird. The fact that this draws a card upon combat damage makes no sense. Sure, it's part of a Vanguard detachment, which in the boxes that they released is like a Phobos advanced unit that like goes ahead of the army and would get reconnaissance, but the Suppressors are the only non-Phobos unit in that box set. So that's fucking weird that they're scouting for information. Suppressing fire as well should tap down the defenders or stop them from defending or something like that. It shouldn't draw you a card. Mechanically, it's very strange. The worst of all of them, in my opinion, the others are fucking slam dunk. I feel like this was changed late in development and they just kept the suppressing fire thing on it. Squad is a very powerful mechanic, the most on-the-nose version of multi-kicker we've seen for a creature, which just makes copies of it. Ultimately, though, it does make copies upon entering the battlefield, not upon casting, which means if you dump, I don't know, 10 mana into this in your blue-green like value engine deck and someone just hits it with a straight-up counterspell, you will not get the copies. If there is a strong Squad Marine in the set, I can imagine it even making waves in Legacy, as it'll be like an army in a can that might be a powerful utility creature as well. It is blue, mono blue, because it's an Ultramarine. Ultramarines are the blue Space Marines. Very on the nose, again, a bit like the dragons that were arbitrarily the colours of their scales and their skin in Dungeons & Dragons, but it kind of makes sense because the Ultramarines are the tactical, by-the-book, regimented members of the Space Marines. Arguably that's more white, but I think it fits that the Ultras would be in the blue part of the colour pie. I'm hoping we'll see some Blood Angel iconography, some Dark Angel iconography in the other colours as well, and other, popular Space Marine chapters in amongst the Imperium deck. With the worst of the 4 out of the way, let's look at the good shit. Fabricate is getting a reprint into a Universes Beyond frame with this triangle hollow stamp at the bottom. Fabricate is an existing Magic card, 3 mana sorcery, search a library for an artifact, and put it into your hand. But we see here Belisarius Cawl, the Archmagus of the fucking Adeptus Mechanicus. These are the tech priests of Mars cars. These guys are obsessed with old tech. They're always searching for it. They'll go out of their way. They will fight fellow Imperial forces to get technology. Hell, half of these fuckers, they went against the Imperium during the heresy with the promise of technology from Horus. They're bastards. Belisarius Cawl in the art here is the big motherfucking big man of the toaster fuckers. And here he is creating one of the guns that is on his model in the tabletop game. This is a wonderful way of bringing Warhammer to Magic by taking existing things that we already understand and what they do, both mechanically and thematically, and layering over them the flavour and the theme from the supporting IP. I do think it's weird that there's no flavour text on this. There are some really quite iconic lines from them. For example, like praise the Omnissiah, because these guys believe there's a god within the machine. They basically praise AI almost, but not quite, because AI isn't allowed in the 41st millennium by the Imperium. But this sort of stuff could have been a great bit of flavour text. I'm assuming praise the Omnissiah might just be a spell in the set, and that's why we didn't see it here. Then we've got our first new legendary creature, our first new commander from the Warhammer decks. This is Abaddon the Despoiler, a Grixis 5/5 for 5 mana and a Astartes warrior. It has trample and has Mark of Chaos Ascent. During your turn, spells you cast from your hand with mana value X or less have Cascade, where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. Ping your opponents, attack your opponents, cause fucking pandemonium, and then your spells will gain value and strength and buffs that are a little bit RNG, a little bit chaotic. Abaddon the Despoiler is the leader of the Black Legion. They're kind of to Chaos Space Marines what the Ultras are to normal Space Marines. They are Horus, the guy who created the Horus Heresy by fighting against the Imperium. They're his old forces renamed. Abaddon is an absolute unit in close combat. He's a fucking monster on the battlefield. It's a shame to see him only be a 5/5. There's an element of having to limit the power level of some of these creatures and people because Warhammer's kind of insane. But if a 6/6 Dreadnought comes out that can easily just like block and kill an Abaddon, that would kind of be a shame, because Abaddon would wreck most Dreadnoughts in 40k in a one-on-one fight. I really like them using Cascade here because Abaddon's biggest power, if you will, his biggest asset is that he comes in and out of the warp, the Imperium, the subplane below the normal physical world. He uses that as his way to launch attacks, crusades as he calls them, Black Crusades, against the Imperium. The fact that he's then going to use this Maelstrom to strum up chaotic boons and powers from the Dark Gods Ascendant is really cool. There's another also like thematic element of that. The more pandemonium, the more havoc, the more violence that you create in the name of the Chaos Gods, the more people will flock to your standard or your flag. If you are mutilating and killing, then more cultists might come when you summon your next demon, for example. This is the sort of thing we're going to see in the Chaos deck. There is a weirdness here that is only 3 colour though. There are 4 gods in Warhammer 40k. There's Slanesh, there's Nurgle, there's Khorne, and there's what's the other one? Tzeentch. Fuck, I almost forgot the Lord of Magic himself. It would have made sense that because he carries all 4 marks and works with all 4 gods without taking on too much of the chaotic power, he kind of maintains himself as a separate figure to either any of the gods, but he is like ascendant in all 4 marks. You'd think he'd have all 4 colours. There's a possibility that Nurgle for some reason is mono black if we see any Nurgle cards. That doesn't make any sense to me. Nurgle should be green-black through and through. If we see Great Unclean Ones, Mortarion, the Death Guard, the Plague Bringers, the Pox Bringers, and stuff like that. If you're wondering, I've done a whole video on who Nurgle is because he's my favourite of the 4 gods. I'll put that in the cards in the description. But in essence, he's Grand Papa Nurgle. He brings blessings and growth and mutations to people that they push you beyond your potential, but he's all about rebirth and growth from what has come before. His realm is called Nurgle's Garden. He's got motifs of roots and rot and trees and stuff like that in Age of Sigmar. The whole point is he's not just decay and death. He is growing out of that decay to create something new, to create a cyclical sort of pattern to life. Everything that dies will eventually feed into everything that lives. That's kind of part of Nurgle's thing. So no green on Abaddon is weird, but besides that, I fucking love this. Under his rule, there is but one creed: chaos shall reign. The other shameful thing, I guess, is that because we've got Abaddon here, will we see Magnus or Mortarion, the Demon Primarchs? I hope so. I hope so. And then best till last, we've got Blood for the Blood God. A 8, 9, 10, 11 mana Rakdos spell. An instant, this spell costs 1 less for each creature that has died this turn. Discard your hand, then draw 8 cards. Blood for the Blood God deals 8 damage to each opponent. Exile Blood for the Blood God, and the flavor text is Skull for the Skull Throne. Although it's missing an exclamation mark, which is kind of weird when there's an exclamation mark in the title. This is the one I've seen a few Magic players moan about, saying it's cringe and stuff, and I think those people saying that are fucking idiots. The artwork depicts a load of Ultramarines. I believe it's 8 of them, but honestly there's so many legs there I can't really tell. 8 is the number of Khorne. This load of Ultramarines that have been dismembered, their bodies bleeding to create the mark of Khorne on the battlefield post-destruction. It's very brutal, it's very metal, it's very Warhammer 40k. The Blood God himself is Khorne. He is the Red God, if you will. He's all for murder and death and violence and blood and skulls. If you're killing stuff, he's happy. If you're not killing stuff, he's not happy. He's a simple man in many ways compared to Nurgle or Tzeentch. This card incentivizes you to kill more things, and the more things you kill, the easier it is to manifest the iconic cry of blood for the Blood God. Probably one of the lines in Warhammer and Warhammer 40k and Warhammer in general that people know of even if they know nothing about Warhammer. And when you do this, you get the boon of the God of Slaughter, the mass murdering Khorne himself. You get to discard your hand, draw 8 cards, which is incredibly powerful. Draw 7s in Magic, if you're new to this and you're from the Warhammer side of things. Draw 7s are very, very good. It being a draw 8 is almost like pushing it that little bit further. It's obviously referencing the number of Khorne himself, but drawing 8 cards is fucking incredible. And then you just shoot each opponent for 8 damage as well, and then you exile the spell because the spell would be too good if you could loop it multiple times in a turn. Because it has a cost reduction, you can reduce it by up to 8 because it has 8 colorless mana in its mana cost, meaning this could be a 1 red and 2 black, exile your hand, draw 8 cards, deal 8 damage to whoever they want. It being a new wheel effect, or it's not even a wheel because it's only for you. Wheels normally wheel everyone at the table, a wheel being a draw 7. It's incredibly powerful. Like, it's a very powerful spell that hits every single fucking note it needs to on a thematic level, barring perhaps the exclamation point in the flavor text. I can see this card seeing huge amounts of play. I think Abaddon is also hugely playable as a commander as well. We've had the Cascade 4-color one in the past. Abaddon might compete for that. And this thing is a very powerful wheel. Post-Wrath, after you've played a card that kills all creatures in play, this is going to be a 3-mana powerful wheel. There's also situations where if you are looping your own creatures, if you're sacrificing things like blood pets, or you're sacrificing things to altars, Phyrexian altars, or altars of dimension, stuff like that, you're going to lower the cost of this card hugely. Oh, and Ashnod's altar, that's the other one, right? All the altars. If you sacrifice bodies on the altar to the gods, you're going to get good power. I think this card's very, very strong. I think it's going to see a lot of play as well. And it's fucking sick. So that is my breakdown of the first 4 cards. I'm like a week late to it, but give me a break, alright? I couldn't speak without coughing yesterday. If you've enjoyed this video, smash the like button down below and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll bring you up to date as much news as I can on this product because it's the one I'm most excited for this year. It goes this, and then Brothers War. And this is actually quite a bit above it. The new D&D set's cool too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.